Where do the Chiefs go from here now that they've beaten the Jacksonville Jaguars? They've taken over the top of the AFC. The next thing is the next thing. It is the Chargers. How do they get ready for that? What do we take away from this game to get them ready for it? We'll get into that today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
My Australian friends always like to say we get stuck in. Okay, so today, for all of you down under, we're getting stuck in how they get to the Chargers. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, RGR Football and NFL 33. We're brought to you today by a bunch of our folks. We'll get to everybody there, but at the end, at the bottom, you have to do what you got to do, and it is PrizePicks. It's going to help you get into the action. Check them out today. A lot to go over here. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Got to make sure that you get your team every day, and that's what we do. You can choose us for the Chiefs. You can choose somebody else. I'm listening to the Fantasy Hockey Show right now because for those of you in my hockey league, I'm sorry I'm destroying you all already. It's okay. It's going to be fine. But you can find it all here on Locked On. Make sure you check out another show. Where do we go first, Chris?
I'm glad you brought up the Chargers because really quickly, I know that game is still a couple of days away. This is the Tuesday episode, so still a lot to talk about the game on Sunday. But Chargers lost Sunday night, and now they are 2 games back in the division, and I think that is notable. There are a lot of questions about who they could be getting back from because of injuries. Maybe they get Bosa back for the Chiefs game. Maybe they get Mike Williams back. Maybe they get Keenan Allen back. I mean, that would be a lot of people to get back, but you know that they have to be getting ready for this game.
Yeah, it has to have been circled on their schedule for quite a long time. And folks, we were live post-game for the Monday show early Sunday afternoon, so that game hadn't happened yet. As it all boiled down, it was quite an afternoon. Obviously, we know that what happened with the Bills, the Chiefs get into first place. Chargers falling away a little bit. We saw a debacle in Las Vegas. This is shaking out to be basically the same old story, despite everyone not wanting to give you much of a break, that the Chiefs are at the top. The Chargers could have been there, but they've been injured, and they've, I don't know a nice way to put this, but they've blown a couple of games that they could have had to stay closer to the pace that the Chiefs are putting up. And then you have the Broncos and Raiders that are fighting to be the most derelict team in this division. We'll see who ends up on the bottom. I still think it's going to be Las Vegas. That's what I said preseason, but it is what it is. But all that goes to show that it's harder to stay at the top of any division than ever.
It is, and I do want to point out, you talk about the Chargers and how everybody thought that they were going to do well this year. And surprisingly enough, they're injured. Oh, wait, where have I heard that before? Seems like every single year. So you do with it what you will, and I think that you look at this game coming up with the Chargers, and I have to say this. I don't know if you got to catch the game last night against the 49ers, but I will say this. I don't know what the NFL is doing, but Greenlaw should not have been ejected.
See, I disagree. I think it should have. I think Cisco should have as well.
Well, okay. If you want to go that route, I guess I could go there with you. My issue with Greenlaw getting ejected was he wasn't aiming to try to hit Herbert in the head. Herbert got jacked right before that by Ward and changed complete direction. So I don't think he was trying to do a cheap shot. Cisco was trying to do a cheap shot.
Yeah.
There's a big difference there.
There is a difference. I don't think it's big because I think the letter of the rule is if you're contacting the quarterback's head, that's the end result. I mean, and you saw that for those of you who didn't see it, this is Greenlaw against the Chargers last night. Very similar hit to what we saw in the Chiefs game from Cisco. It's just that, I mean, Herbert's helmet almost came off at that point. That's how difficult that was. So for me, I'd rather see play caution and get both those players out of there. What I do like is that you pointed it out on Twitter is that there seemed to be just a lack of concern about anything quarterback related in a total swing of the pendulum back from 2 weeks ago when everything breathing in a quarterback's direction was called roughing the passer. Now the crew that worked the Chiefs game decided not to call anything. The crew that clearly was on national TV last night decided, oh, we better play this a little closer to the letter of the rule. And that inconsistency, I think, is what is plaguing this league. And honestly, what is making it harder for the Chiefs to make sure that they can go out and play their game every week.
Yeah, and I will not disagree with you. I think Cisco was targeting. I just don't feel like Greenlaw was targeting. I think he was in a rough spot because, like I said, Herbert moved and completely changed direction from the way he was hit. So if you're going by letter of the rule, you're right. Maybe he should have been ejected. but I don't think it was his intent. It sure seemed like it was Cisco's intent by the way he hit both Juju and MBS.
Yeah, it's just hard to regulate,
Absolutely.
There's stuff between ears that you can't tell. But in the end, what it comes down to is that the Chiefs have 2 players in the concussion protocol. They're working through that, and we hope to have an update here later by Tuesday to see where everyone's at. They will get back to practice on their normal schedule this week. But we have to understand not only what is going on with Juju, but Chris Lamons as well, a contributor on special teams that is probably under-heralded. I just don't want to see him out on defense. That's just me. But both those guys are in serious condition in terms of being in the protocol. That said, coming away from that ball game without anything more solid, meaning like no broken bones, no soft tissue injuries. The concussion protocol is the mystery that it is, and everybody progresses through it at their own pace. You can't really put a timeline on it, so we don't know what will happen there. But we do know that it's not going to be a shredded hamstring that's going to keep somebody out 6 weeks. We don't know what that is going to be. A couple of guys returned and actually made a good progress. We're going to go over not only what the defensive line was able to do, what Patrick was able to do, but what that rookie class is that you guys are probably pretty tied up in and ready to hear about, because that's what we all want to talk about. Now, for a word from our sponsor, PrizePicks, they help you get into daily fantasy sports. And right now, there is a line. There's always a line. There will be another line for you to choose from. And that's what makes this game so fun, because it's very, very simple. If you had Patrick going over 300 yards, you would have just chosen more or less versus the line that they put. I think actually last week it was actually 288.5. Patrick hits 331. Anybody who choose the more would have won that particular part of it. You take 2 to 5 players, you put them in an entry, and that entry can earn up to 10 times the entry fee that you put in for it. There's no competing against other people. There's no lineups to set. It's not me against Chris. It's me against the production on the field, and that's what I love about it. Get over there. You can bet on anything that you like. WNBA's even out there, MMA, cricket, Euro basketball. I don't even know how to watch that or even understand what's going on because time zones. But it's easy. It's quick. It takes 60 seconds. The withdrawals are fast and safe, and you can get it in 30 states or in Canada. You just have to go to the PrizePicks app in any app store or prizepicks.com and pick that up to play daily fantasy sports. Once you put a deposit in with our code Locked On, you get 100% of that deposit put into your account on top of it. So if you deposit up to $100, you get that $100 back. If you put in 25, you get 25. That is with our code Locked On when you sign up at PrizePicks anytime that you want to play daily fantasy sports. Now, the other thing that you want to do is keep not only your winnings, but your home safe. That is tough to do. But right now, our listeners can order the #1 rated SimpliSafe home security system at 50% off. This is their biggest offer of the year, and it won't be here forever. So you want to check it out. And what it does is give you personal security, like the ability to relax and understand that when you're not home, somebody is paying attention to what's going on at your home, protecting you while you are out living your life. You can share anything that you want. It's professionally set up. It's 24/7 monitoring available all the time. And it is named the best home security system of 2022 by U.S. News and World Reports, a 3rd year in a row. So you can give that peace of mind when you are out and about. In an emergency, the 24-hour monitoring will make sure that they use their Fast Protect technology exclusively from SimpliSafe to capture critical evidence and verify the threat is real so that you can give the priority that the police need to follow up and take care of anything that may have happened. Don't miss your chance to save big on this only security system we can recommend. Get 50% off at SimpliSafe. That's simplisafe.com/lockedon. And the biggest discount of the year is right now. Don't miss it. It's simplisafe.com/lockedonnfl. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. What is safe is that you're going to get some pressure from Chris Jones. That's pretty much a general known quantity. And when I look at win rate for the defensive line, Chris is pretty, he's pretty unusual. He wins this last week at 17% of his rush snaps. That's roughly 1 in 5. Interesting thing is that he's not alone. When you take a look at who's spelling in, and the loss of Turk Warden, I think we maybe haven't given it its due until we saw what Colin Saunders has been able to put together recently. Now, Colin had a rougher outing, right? Only 7% win rate, but he did produce a pressure. He did get that sack. At that point, is that enough for you? Do you take away from this game that Colin Saunders can be the other pass rush defensive tackle and the Chiefs can actually be productive?
I think it's going to be very hard to go any other direction. And I say that because you start looking at, and unfortunately, all these questions come down to what can the Chiefs afford?
Yeah.
And reality is, salary cap wise, they don't have much of a choice. And I think that Saunders can be that guy. I think he's shown that he has the ability to put pressure on the quarterback. I think he's shown that he can stop the run. And I think that that's valuable in this league. I'm curious to see what he will get on his next deal because that's going to be coming up very soon. But I do think it's something that they ought to look at and bring him back and try to keep him around in this rotation. I think that would be good for Kansas City. He's a young guy. He's still ascending, and he has a good motor, and he moves very well for a man his size. So all of those things are a plus. Is he going to be a Chris Jones-esque type pass rusher? No, he's not. But you're not going to find those guys. And if you're going to go try to find another guy like Chris Jones to put in pass rush, you're probably going to be paying north of $10 million, probably 15, 20 million a year to try to put somebody else in the middle of this defense like that. You can't afford to do that with the other contracts you have on this roster. So to me, Saunders makes a lot of sense to bring back on a cheap deal for next year. And I think he's proven he can do that. Now, does they keep you from trying to find somebody in the draft that maybe can improve your defensive line? Absolutely not. But you're always going to be looking.
I agree. It doesn't preclude you from anything. Now, Chris Jones played 45 snaps against the Jaguars of the 51 total. And I think that's indicative that just how good he is and what he can do. I'm impressed as I take a step back and I go over some of the plays from this ballgame. It just impresses upon me the fact that he's changed his body type since coming in the league, and it continues to get refined. He did get one of those pressures from the edge position again. I think he got home that time, to tell you the truth. So just being able to consistently, what we thought was a failed experiment last year in putting him out to defensive end is now paying off, and it's allowing Saunders to play more. Saunders came in, 18 snaps in pass rush. I think that's quality contribution, right? But it allowed Derek Nottie to only play 12. And you got Stallworth in there for 7. And so clearly the NASCAR package that we've been screaming for, I don't know, 4 years, trying to get this NASCAR package onto the field, that's certainly paying off in that Chris is the one tackle that stays on the field all the time. And the volume total doesn't combine to another defensive tackle in total snaps, right? So that is leading towards not having to rely on the second defensive tackle.
Yeah, and you're also in a situation where Karlaftis can crash inside, Dunlap can crash inside. Frank Clark is rushed from inside, even though I don't think he actually purely rushed inside. I think it was something where he started inside and did a stunt outside, but he's been inside at different times. And he comes back next week. That is something that I did not think, and you said this on yesterday's show, I didn't think it was going to be as big of a deal as it really is. I think that with him coming back, with the way Kansas City's gotten pass rush this past game and really against the Titans to a certain extent, I think that you are going to be looking at a situation where they're going to be getting better as the year goes on. And the Chargers' offensive line is already hurting. So there's an issue there too.
Yeah, there definitely is. Now, Chris produced 4 pressures on the quarterback. So did George Karlaftis, the rookie. And that's what's key. He's continuing to just pile up the pressures. He did it from a variety of positions. George Karlaftis played 51 snaps, which was all of them, by the way. And 32 of them were at the right end. That's what you're looking for, right?
He played every snap.
He played every snap.
Wow.
According to PFF, right here in front of me, let's see, who were they that played them all? It was Karlaftis, it was Bolton, Thornhill, Reed, Snead. Now, obviously, only 42 of them were pass rush snaps.
You never see defensive lineman play 100%.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now, let me verify that was the total because you never quite know what the number is going to be, and that's why, because that was pass rush snaps. Total was 64. So he played 51 total snaps out of the 64. Chris Jones played 56. But in the pass rush snaps, he was in there for the bulk of them, every last single one. And the interesting thing is that he lined up his normal right end spot quite a bit, but moved back off the line to right outside linebacker a couple of times, played a snap at tackle, 2 snaps at nose tackle. And that's what's, I think, key. And then obviously plays a couple of snaps on the left-hand side like you should be able to flip-flop pretty easily. But that's what you were mentioning. Letting Karlaftis go inside gives him another fresh look at it. And that's how he produced 4 pressures. Same amount that Chris Jones did. Now, not a gargantuan number, but consistent. And as of this morning, and we are recording on Monday morning, folks, a little unusual for us. It is George Karlaftis tied with Aiden Hutchinson for the lead in pressure production for the rookie class yet again. So, no, he's not getting home and getting those sacks, but he's still out there every week producing the pressure that this team needs.
And pressure, whether or not it actually gets home, relates to how the defense is playing overall. It's great if they get sacks. Don't get me wrong. I would love for him to have 4 or 5 sacks at this point. But if he is consistently pressuring the quarterback, he is consistently making the play difficult for the quarterback. And, batting the ball down early in the game really helped them get off the field on a drive. And him just being around the quarterback in general is going to also get other people making hits on the QB and getting sacks. So he's helping lead the defense in the right direction. And honestly, for a rookie to be basically, let's see, he was drafted at 29 or 30, somewhere in I can't remember the exact number. So he's drafted there, and he's getting the same number of pressures as Aiden Hutchinson, who's drafted number 2 overall and should have been number 1 probably.
Well, and especially when you saw this week when Trayvon Walker's out, the guy who was drafted number 1, that's really what sets it up. Because when I go look at him, what did he pull off? He pulled off the same number 4. Josh Allen produced 4. Now, this is on an offensive line that we know has been struggling as of late. So what it does for the season is it still doesn't put Trayvon Walker into the same class as what we get from George Karlaftis, but he's a little bit behind. He is 4th in the league in the rookie class. So I think this was a good kind of delineation of what the Chiefs have gotten in their draft selection this year, even though I know a lot of folks are frustrated that it's not producing more end results of sacks. It's still doing the deal. Bigger thing for me, he had 2 batted passes. And I think this is taking on from what Chris Jones has done over the years, is that's still defeating those pass plays. If that's 3rd down, you're off the field at that point, just from the batted pass that Karlaftis is now getting, I think, better at doing.
Yep. No, he definitely is. And I think that you look at the rest of the rookies, and honestly, the first round, Veach knocked it out of the park. McDuffie has looked all a part of potentially a shutdown corner. And I know it's early in his career, but the way he is playing and the way he's playing the ball and the way he's going after guys when the ball is not coming his direction and he's helping in the run game, that means a lot. And for being a rookie and stepping in the way he has, I know he was injured a lot, but he's playing very well.
Yeah, my big key for me, yes, he finally gave up a reception, folks. He was targeted 8 times, same as L'Jarius Sneed. The most of this team, I think that goes to like the miscommunication of what Trevor Lawrence should have been doing, aiming at the 2 best corners that are out there, but gave up 13 yards of yak. So even though he did give up receptions, and a lot of those ball placements were very good, kudos to Trevor Lawrence, was always in phase, was always at the catch point, didn't give up the yak that turned into a big chunk.
And sometimes you're going to get beat. I mean, the other guys on the other side of the field are paid to make plays in this league, and that is what they're trying to do as well. And sometimes the QB just beats you. Mm-hmm. That happens to even the best corners. So it's going to happen to McDuffie. It's going to happen to Sneed. It happened yesterday to Sneed. And it is what it is. I mean, there's still a lot to like about this rookie class. And when we get back, we will be talking about that. But I want to tell you another word from our sponsor over at Built Bar. If you have not tried Built Bar, I really do not know what you're waiting for. This is one of the best protein bars that I have ever tasted. It is soft. It is chewy. It is 100% chocolate. Back up just a little bit, Ryan. You're out of there. We go. There is Built Bar. And there are so many different flavors that you can try. They are absolutely delicious. You need to give them a try. Go to built.com right now and use promo code Locked On, and you can get 15% off. Go to built.com right now and use promo code Locked On and get 15% off at built.com on one of the best tasting protein bars that I have ever tasted.
Built Bars are definitely my favorite, and I've gone through every protein bar imaginable, folks. So I can say that with confidence. I want to point out one more thing about the defense in the rookie class. Now, we've always told you guys, and remember this, any grade from PFF with a grain of salt. Look at the stats. Don't look at the grades necessarily. But as a generality, as a place to start, what I enjoyed seeing when I opened this up this morning was who are the top 3 rated defenders on this roster in this week. It was middle linebacker Nick Bolton. It was outside linebacker Leo Chanel, and outside linebacker Willie Gay Jr. A few years ago about where I said, old school, where I come from, is you build from the linebacker level because it covers a number of different things. That's what we're seeing. The speed at linebacker showed off in this game. And I think that's what came, not just coming downhill to get the run, but getting to the sidelines in particular. That's what really stood out to me in terms of the way that the linebackers led this defense this week.
They definitely led the defense. And I don't think I said this yesterday, but I did see it. Darius Harris is still coming on the field for Willie Gay. And I think that's interesting just because he's a different type of linebacker. He's not going to have the same speed that Gay has. But I do think that he showed while Gay was out that he can play in this league. So I like that they're still getting him snaps because you never know when an injury is going to happen.
Yeah.
Keep him ready to go and get him involved in the defense when you can. And I think that's a very good sign for them. But the other good sign that you see this defense doing is you have Bolton and Gay on the field almost all the time.
Yeah.
You're in a situation where they don't have to come off the field. You're not bringing in another linebacker to go to a sub package like they were doing with Ben Neiman forever. And you're in a much better situation if you can do that because those guys are the guys that you want on the field. Bolton is a guy that is attacking very well. He still misses at hitting the right hole at the right time or shedding the block every now and again. But he's usually getting tackles for losses in the backfield. That is exactly what you want from your middle linebacker. And his speed is not showing up as a detriment to this team, which is very impressive considering that was a big question coming out.
Yeah, I think he's faster downhill than I even anticipated he would be able to grow into. And, when you draft 21-year-old guys, they still have upside physically. Like they can still mature and get a little bit faster. I think Nick's done a really good job of showing that, hey, I wasn't a finished product in college. I can still be better. And he is. And the interesting thing to me schematically is, yes, he was on the field for every single down was Nick Bolton, along with Thornhill, Reed, and Snead. McDuffie missed one snap, so instantly back into the starting lineup and playing the entire thing. Willie Gay was on the field for 43 of those snaps. So in years past, we would say the second linebacker be somewhere around 40, 50% of the snaps. Well, now Willie's at like 80% of them compared to Nick. Maybe that's 70%. But it's certainly a tick up where you don't have to go to the undersized three-man dime all the time. You have two linebackers on there, and that's what I think has been really showing off the last 2 weeks in having both those guys out there. When they are in nickel, they've been able to stop the run better.
Well, and then you start bringing in Leo, and that's a whole different ballgame. And I thought he played very well yesterday. And as Ryan said, we're recording this Monday morning. So I think he played very well on Sunday afternoon, and he got his first sack. His pressure, his going after the quarterback was very impressive. He made a beeline for the quarterback, and he had to change direction very quickly because Lawrence stepped up into the pocket, and he still got him for a sack. That's something that you want to be able to see, and I think he continues to grow. He's going to have rough games. He's a rookie. He's playing a little bit out of position for what he did in college and what he's used to doing. So this is going to be an adjustment period, but I'm still liking what I'm seeing from him.
Now, I know you guys are saying you haven't talked about Patrick all day. You haven't talked about anything on the offensive side. Okay, so here's what it is. And Chris, I'll just put it to you as a question. Juju's likely to miss time. If that happens, is Kadarius Toney the now number 2 receiver on this roster?
I'd say number 3.
Yeah, okay.
And I think that's if Hardman's back. So that's a question. And I do think that he is probably behind Hardman. But we'll have to see. I mean, with the way he played with Hardman out, I think that it's going to be hard for him to not get more looks going forward. I mean, the big question is how much of the offense does he know? I know he stepped in. I know that they find that he's very smart and he's picking things up very quickly. But let's not forget, this is like his 3rd week in the offense.
Yeah.
It's a lot for him to step in and be able to do the stuff that Andy Reid wants done. And the thing that's impressive to me the most is he's stepped in and he's done things that I don't think that they planned on him doing. Like he stepped in this week and basically did McColl's role. If you watch Toney on most of his snaps, he's doing the back and forth, going across the field motion that McColl does all the time. He stepped into that role this week, and that isn't a huge thing, but it's big enough knowing that he is learning all these different route combinations, all these different things that they're doing on offense. And yeah, I know some of it's probably similar to what he was doing in New York, but the reality is this is his 3rd week in the offense. He's going to continue to grow. He's going to continue to be a bigger player. And I think the bigger thing that I'm really enjoying about watching him play is I keep thinking he's going to get hit and he's going to be down and he's not going to get up. I haven't seen anything where he's even been phased at all. He pops right back up. He goes.
You have a great point. And he kind of addressed the hopping into the end zone because he was on the sideline, like trying to maintain his balance in his post-game presser. But it can't help to me but demonstrate, hey, my hamstring's fine. So I'm not injured. I haven't been injured. I don't know what happened in New York. I don't really care at this point. What I see
that's a failure on their part getting him involved. Sorry. That's all I got to say.
Agreed. And it doesn't necessarily matter to me. What I am taking away from this ballgame, when I look, he was in on 28 snaps. Only 17 of them did he run a route. So I think that even goes to show that he was the second most productive pass catcher in this game behind Travis Kelce. And obviously, Juju's absence plays into that. MVS having to miss a couple of snaps plays into that. But being able to produce that in not only half the snaps that you're even on the field, but even less than that you're running routes, that makes a big difference.
Yeah, and 17 of those. Okay, so you say he was in for 17 passes. He had 17 routes. He got targeted 5 times. Mm-hmm. So he was almost targeted 33% of the time. Not quite, but close to 33% of the time that he was in a route of some sort. That's pretty good for a guy that's coming in for his 3rd week.
Yeah. And when you expand that, what does it do? Now, especially if Juju has to miss time, you're going to have MVS and Watson on the outside, and you're going to have, if McColl's back, McColl and Kadarius on the inside, right? If you go 4 wide, that's the lineup that I expect to see. Sky Moore, I think you can give him a break and he will come along. But what I like about that is now someone else can do the jet motion. I think that actually helps McColl attack downfield and be more productive in the intermediate, the deep crosser, some of the things that we've seen other players have to do. Maybe some of the stuff that Juju's been doing, they can run a little bit more depth so that he can stay on speed. And now McCole Hardman might be able to be more productive as well.
Well, and I also wonder what it's going to do for Noah Gray and Jody Fortson. I do think that they're going to have to get the tight ends involved more. I think that they're going to have to be looking at doing different things because the whole reason Juju was so efficient and so good at what he was doing is because he learned from Travis Kelce. He watched what Travis Kelce was doing, and he started to mimic him in a lot of ways. And if you start doing that as a wide receiver, you're going to be able to be open as much as Juju has been over the past couple of weeks for the Chiefs. But I think that they can do a lot of those same things with a guy like Fortson, with a guy like Noah Gray. Both those guys have shown that they can catch the ball. They can be effective with the ball in their hands. And I think that that's something that they're going to have to probably look at using this week if Juju is out.
Yeah, I agree. A lot remains to be seen. We'll have an update for you when we know more as they make announcements on the roster this week. I'll be back with Matt Derrick tomorrow, and we will talk about Patrick Mahomes and his maturation. What did we see in this game that changed? Because I think there was something significant that on rewatch looks even more defining to me of what we're going to see down the stretch now that they have the lead in the AFC and they need to maintain that. So don't miss tomorrow's show. We're going to get in on the Chargers on Thursday. Don't miss that. And then we will have our game preview, all the things you need to know going into that ball game, as well as our predictions on Friday. If you're new to us and you don't know us very well, you can like and sub on YouTube. But remember, we're here 5 days a week because we do this all the time for this team and for the NFL. Thanks for spending your time with us today, and we will be back with you tomorrow.